Hey, what is going on, everyone? Welcome to another BRAP video. I wanted to do a quick video this afternoon. I typically don't do a lot of videos like this because of, well, frankly, I just don't have the time between work, kids, and the like. Just a very, very busy individual, to say the least. 4 kids, trying to squeeze gaming time in. Now we're dealing with this pandemic. And anyhow, on that note, though, we have some exciting Xbox Series X related news. Now, I just want to just say something really quick. Microsoft has done a fantastic job with the unveiling of this particular console. I mean, we go back to 2013 and you look at some of the things that happened prior to the release of information, a lot of leaks. The specs were released for the Xbox One prior to the official reveal. It was all over NeoGAF, if you guys remember that. And there was also instances where game resolutions were leaked as well. And so Microsoft really didn't have control of the narrative per se. They weren't really controlling their messaging probably as tightly as they would have liked with the Xbox One. And fast forward 7 years later, that has completely changed. They have done a fantastic job with keeping this thing close to the chest and revealing information about the Xbox Series X on their own timetable. And we haven't seen much in the way of leaks with the Xbox Series X. We knew about the 12 teraflops. But they really haven't, they've really been in more control of the messaging and the narrative. And look, that has suited them well. That has absolutely suited them very well. I think it's something they needed to do to get a better foothold moving into next console generations. And so, by the way, Digital Foundry just actually put out a video. Richard Ledbetter, it's a fantastic video. It's about 30 minutes, gives you a lot of insight into the Xbox Series X. Now, Microsoft, through their Xbox website or Xbox Wire, actually released the complete specs of the Xbox Series X. And they did this along with tech experts Austin Evans and Digital Foundry. And Richard Ledbetter in his video actually shows, we actually finally see kind of, I guess, live in person, if you will, what the actual console looks like. I like the design, but when they put it on top of the Xbox One X, I don't know now. Like, I'm kind of on the fence with whether or not this thing is as attractive as I initially thought, because it's a little more bulkier, looks like a loaf of bread. And that's not a criticism, just an observation. It doesn't have that sleek design. Now, if you stand it upright, it probably looks more appealing to the eye, but I think when they had it on top of the Xbox One X, it just didn't really do it for me. But anyhow, that's just a minor complaint. But they also showed the new Xbox wireless controller and how the team is reducing latency. The Xbox wireless controller, by the way, looks phenomenal. I think it's improved D-pad with the D-pad design they showed. And I'm not picking an Xbox One Series X for myself at launch, but I will be picking up the new Xbox wireless controller, given the D-pad and some of the new features that will be included in this new wireless controller. But on that note, let's go to this article here. Again, this is the article that was posted today, March 16th at 5 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Here we go. Next generation of Xbox is defined by 3 primary characteristics: power, speed, and compatibility. And that's something that Microsoft has talked about a lot. Look, make no mistake, folks, this is the most powerful console released to date, either Microsoft and or Sony or Nintendo. This is the most powerful console out there. And the specs are very impressive, to say the least. And Microsoft is, again, touting that, the most powerful console ever. You see that right here, most powerful console ever. They are continuing to drive that narrative. And they should, because it is the most powerful console at the moment. So they do go into a little more detail into trying to get games to run 60 frames per second with high visual fidelity and precise responsive input. That's been a focus for Microsoft. As I read through this article, by the way, and I talked about the narrative and how they're releasing things on their own terms. This is how they should. This is, in my opinion, how to do it. When you're releasing new hardware or a product, this is the way to do it. Get the experts in there, the guys like Digital Foundry. Get those guys to come into Redmond, which they did. Richard Ledbetter was out there in Redmond, Washington. Get them out there. Get their hands on the hardware and let them talk about their hardware. Now, I go to Digital Foundry. I also try to talk to individuals in the development community, in the gaming industry more specific, because those individuals, it's one thing to, I think, have a knowledge and idea of how technology works. I also think it's another perspective to actually have worked with that said technology. I try to find the individuals that have actually developed games, worked with the hardware, try to get their input into some of these things that Digital Foundry and Microsoft are talking about as it relates to the Xbox Series X hardware. So again, guys, this thing is looking it looks like a very impressive piece of hardware. Now, I am a PC gamer, and I can tell you as a PC gamer, as looking at this console hardware, this is wow. This is awesome. Gamers should definitely be super excited for what Microsoft has done, and hats off to the development team at Microsoft and Phil Spencer for, listening to the input, the feedback of gamers, and creating what seems to be a very, very capable, powerful console. One that I think we should be excited for as developers start making games for this particular platform. Here we go. We see the raw power of the custom design processor. It's powered by an AMD Zen 2 CPU and RDNA 2 class GPU. We knew it was RDNA 2. We knew about that prior to this article. And now here, if you see this here are the full specs of the Xbox Series X. Now, a lot of this is information we didn't know. We didn't know about the die size, the memory bandwidth, the I/O throughput. What's interesting, though, is that expandable storage. Now, they did show off, the Digital Foundry video did show off Richard Ledbetter holding the extendable storage cards, which reminds me of the memory cards, if you guys remember, last console generation, or the previous console generation, where we used to have or carry around those memory cards that we used to buy. I used to always run out of them on my PlayStation 2. We see that. And I don't know how I feel about that. I almost would want the option of buying or buying another, Xbox Series X version with 2 terabytes of SSD. And that's not the case. There's this expandable storage slot where you can insert these cards. Now, I mean, I've lived that life many years ago with previous console generations, and it wasn't something I was personally a fan of. That's probably my only complaint, a minor complaint, more of a convenience thing than anything else for me as a complaint, but not a deal killer by any stretch of the imagination, I think, in my own opinion. But here we see performance target 4K at 60 frames per second and up to 120 frames per second. We see the 12 teraflops right here. Boom! 12 teraflops, 15 CUs. And then here we go again with the CPU, 8 cores, 3.8 gigahertz, custom Zen 2 CPU. So this thing is a beast. This thing is very capable. Digital Foundry also got a deep dive into some of the games using the hardware accelerated DirectX ray tracing with some of the games. You could actually see this here. You see ray tracing off, ray tracing on. You can actually see the difference of the lighting. I mean, much improved. And I've used ray tracing on my PC. It looks best on games like Control and the new Call of Duty. Now, they did actually show the Coalition Mike Renner, came up to show how his team was planning to optimize Gears 5 for the Xbox Series X. They showcased a demo to Digital Foundry. And Digital Foundry, believe it or not, they were saying that, and I'm paraphrasing here, they were really impressed with how the game was looking. And to quote the article from Digital Foundry, they said, "We'll be covering more on this soon," referring to Gears 5. But there was one startling takeaway. We were shown benchmark results that on this 2-week-old unoptimized port already delivered very, very similar performance to an RTX 2080. That is the high-end GPU for NVIDIA. So very, very interesting for Digital Foundry to say that. I'm looking forward to them kind of elaborating on that in the future. But guys, this is a very, very impressive piece of hardware. Here, Microsoft's talking about improving immersion, embracing speed. Maximize your tenet of Xbox Series X's speed, which can be defined in a large number of different ways. And they dive into that. A big part of that is obviously revolves around the addition of the solid state drive. So, guys, this is a very impressive piece of hardware. I think as a gamer, you look, whether you support the Xbox brand or not, as a gamer, you have to be impressed by what Microsoft's done here. And again, I can't echo the sentiment that they have really handled this reveal almost perfect. I mean, I can't, we haven't seen a lot of leaks. And they did this with the Xbox One X, although I think there were some leaks in terms of pricing prior to the actual reveal, the pricing. But that being said, I mean, they've handled this in a very, very well mannered. I mean, this is just awesome, awesome. And I think this is an exciting time to be a gamer. We have all the information in terms of what the entire full system specs look like below here, and definitely looking forward to the future and see what Microsoft has to offer in terms of game content. Now, as I mentioned, game content. Now they need to show what this hardware can do. And I don't care what anyone says. People conflate scalability with weaker hardware holding back more powerful hardware. Weaker hardware does hold back more powerful hardware. And that has been verified, confirmed to me by numerous developers. Even one former developer that we've had, I can use his name because he's not speaking. This is something that he shared publicly. Optimus Code, who has spent some time in the video game industry developing games, has confirmed this as well. Doesn't mean that games aren't going to look good, but I want to see games that are designed specifically for what we're seeing right here, these full system specs. This is what I want to see. I want to see games developed specifically for this console. I don't want developers to have to worry about scaling and making games and thinking about weaker hardware. I want the focus to be here. And I'm telling you, when we see that, we are going to be blown away potentially by what this console can do. And obviously that goes back to the talent of the development teams as well. But I think Microsoft now needs to show they got to bring the games now. They got to bring the games. They have 15 new studios. I'm excited to see the potential about in terms of what these studios are going to produce in terms of new gaming content outside of Halo, Gears, and Forza. Those are great franchises, but I want to see new compelling content. I want to see Microsoft really take it to Sony and Nintendo in terms of putting out quality content that either exceeds or is on the same plane as Nintendo's and Sony's first-party games. So, on that note, guys, I am out. Hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't done so. Hope you enjoyed this video. Until next time, we are out. Peace.